Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea from Game Informer, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. After weeks of rumors, we finally received the September Nintendo Direct everyone was saying was going to happen. We got several announcements, so we're going to devote most of this episode to that. But on the tail end, I'm also going to give my impressions of Mortal Kombat 1, which I have been spending a ton of time with. Joining me for this single segment episode of All Things Nintendo is Game Informer's own Kyle Hilliard. Kyle, how are you doing?
Hey, that's me. Good. After a solid Nintendo Direct, I think there was some fun stuff in there.
Yeah, it was not a bad Direct. I think that a lot of people had some very lofty expectations, as they always do for these things. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. First of all, what was your biggest announcement that came out of this Direct?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the sort of their YouTube channel to look at all the announcements, have them listed out. Gosh, biggest announcement. Well, I guess maybe Mario versus Donkey Kong, because I'm trying to think. It's like everything else was like checking in on something we already knew about, right? Like Princess Peach Showtime. It's like we knew that existed. That's really cool to see. Mario RPG we got to see more of. But yeah, in terms, I guess Paper Mario Thousand Year Door and Mario vs. Donkey Kong are like the new things that I was like, oh yeah, cool. I want to play those for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I shared this with the team. There was a leak going around a few days ago, and everybody was like, oh no, that's obviously fake. Like there's no way that's real. But then you look at some of the stuff, and it's like they got Princess Peach Showtime, the name of it correct. They got F-Zero 99 correct. And I was like, oh man, is this going to be real? And then they also had Metroid Samus Returns, which did not happen. Metroid Prime 4, which did not happen. And a apparent remake of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which did not happen. So I guess that all goes to tell you, like, don't pay attention to leaks a lot of times, especially people on social media who purport to know that they know what's going to be on an upcoming Direct. It's weird that they got Princess Peach Showtime accurate though, but like not other stuff. And F-Zero 99.
Yeah, I mean those weren't like impossible to not guess, if that makes sense, right? Like, but just very unlikely.
Yeah.
Right.
The name is what, like, if Princess Peach Showtime with the exclamation point included, mind you, was very that's when I saw that and I was like, oh, maybe that was real. Are we gonna get Ocarina of Time? And then no, he did not. So I got myself excited after writing off those leaks like before the thing even started.
I found a tweet that I made like from 2021 where I was randomly playing F-Zero X on Wii U. On 2021 I hooked up my Wii U to grab some games, and I had tweeted that I was like, oh, this F-Zero mode actually feels like the first instance that I played a battle royale. And so it's funny that now they thought the same thing and we're like, yeah, we'll do that.
So yeah, let's jump into these announcements, I guess. We already mentioned it a few times. Let's talk about Princess Peach Showtime. That is the leadoff batter in the Nintendo press release that came out, by the way. So usually they will put their biggest headline, what they consider their biggest headline, first in the press release. So they started off with Princess Peach Showtime. And, this was one that I think maybe you were the one who came on last time we had a Nintendo Direct. And we discussed the untitled Princess Peach game that was shown at that. And I had a conspiracy theory that this game was not going to be a Nintendo Switch game. It was either going to be a mobile game or for the next console, because all of them said coming to Nintendo Switch on this day or this year or this month or whatever. And for Princess Peach, whatever it was going to be called at that time, they just said coming in 2024, not coming to Nintendo Switch in 2024. And I looked way too much into that, apparently, because it is coming to Nintendo Switch March 22nd, 2024. What did you think about this trailer?
I'm actually kind of like rewatching it because which is why my eyes are diverted. Because I didn't really get to watch it super closely, but it looks cool. It looks like there's depth, right? It's not fully just 2D. It's like something closer to like I don't know, 3D World, I guess maybe. But yeah, it looks funky. It looks cool. It looks good.
I like the different costumes. So, like, the premise they gave us is the Wicked Grape and the Sour Bunch take take over the Sparkle Theater where Peach and a few toads are attending a show. And then Peach, I guess, acquires an ability to transform using Stella, who is the theater's guardian, using her ribbon. So it's like kind of like Kirby-esque in that regard, where she gets these different outfits and has different powers. And I made the joke that if you've played Super Princess Peach, you know that her superpower in that game is to basically just suffer an emotional breakdown.
Yeah, right.
Which not the most sensitive way of approaching her first starring role.
Yeah.
But this seems like a really awesome twist on the gameplay that you might expect from a game starring Peach. So we saw like a sword fighter, we saw Kung Fu Peach. We saw her being a pastry chef, I guess.
Yeah, or like some kind
Peach.
Of chef or something, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of different transformations. They're promising a ton more that we haven't seen. So seems like there's going to be some cool stuff. I'm hoping it's not as straightforward as it could be, where it's just like, okay, you get the ability that you need to do this puzzle. And I hope that there's like some interplay between the abilities, which I'm assuming there will be, because Nintendo's usually pretty clever when it comes to like power-ups and how they're implemented.
Yeah, I guess the question is like, who are they expecting to play this game? Like, is it going to be scaled back for younger players, or are they going to maintain some of the challenge of traditional Mario? I'm guessing more the former. But yeah, it looks cool. I'm excited to play it.
It's perfect timing too, because if you've seen the Super Mario Brothers movie, which I'm thinking most people who listen to this podcast have, given the numbers that it put up at the box office. She was a much more like action-oriented character, much more capable than she has traditionally been in a lot of the games. So like with her kind of stepping into the co-star role alongside Mario in that movie, it's the perfect time for her to get her own game.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have a daughter. Do you think she's going to play this?
Probably not. She's picky.
We'll check back in.
If you're fighting things in this, she's probably out. She's like, I don't want to fight anybody.
Well, that's very very sensitive of her. Very sensible.
That's what she likes. She knows what she likes.
Hey, good for her. What game is she playing lately?
Just Roblox primarily with friends. And then just she kind of jumps back and forth between Stardew and Animal Crossing. Those are like her three mainstays, basically.
Well, I mean, can't really argue with Stardew or Animal Crossing. Solid picks.
She's got good taste.
Yeah. Well, it's almost as if she has a professional critic helping her find good games to play.
Oh, God, dude. Nothing will turn her off of a game faster than me suggesting she play it. That's parenting 101. Trust me.
No, I mean, I've definitely had that situation.
I mean, imagine if your dad was like, you should play this game. You'd be like, I'm not going to play that game. Get out of here.
I mean, he was the one who bought me Super Mario World, and I played that a little bit.
I guess that's true. There you go. Is that your favorite game? Did we mention that yet?
We've not mentioned that yet.
Okay, let's get that in there.
But no, Breath of the Wild's my favorite game. Come on.
Oh, are your favorite 2D Mario? What the
2D
one
platformer.
you always say? You always say that it's your 2D.
It's my favorite 2D platform. Or no, it's my favorite platformer.
Okay, favorite platformer. Okay, that was the other title of this podcast at one time, right? Super Mario World is my favorite platformer?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
But we did not get Super Mario World. We didn't even get mention of Super Mario Wonder, which was interesting to me, even though it did get its own direct a couple weeks ago. But like, you would think they would even just be like, hey, this is still coming out, but maybe we'll get another thing before that. But we did get another Mario game, not really a new one, but it's Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door. That's the second headline that Nintendo has in their press release, and I think rightly so. It was this is our final announcement, so like please watch this video. It's a GameCube game, so we know what to expect there. Not the GameCube game that we have been expecting, which is Wind Waker for the longest time. We've been thinking like, that's the work is mostly done on that game, so why not just put it on Switch? But Nintendo GameCube's Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door. What is your history with this game?
Almost none. I played Paper Mario on N64 and quite enjoyed it. I'm trying to think of the timeline because I got a GameCube to play Wind Waker. And that was like, I'm trying to think, was 1,000-Year Door well before Wind Waker?
I'm looking it up right now. I want to say Wind Waker was later on in the GameCube cycle.
Yeah. In any case, whatever the timing was, I didn't play it. I only played I rented Paper Mario on 64 and enjoyed it, but never beat it. And then 1,000-Year Door, I just kind of like skipped. Never made time for it, but I know its reputation. It's beloved. I think I will play it on Switch, because the last handful of Paper Marios I've started, like, was it Origami King? Was that was the last one, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Which I started and I played probably maybe even like up to a half of that game. But the sort of the complaint that many had about that game is one that I totally get, is like there's no sense of progression in that RPG. You're not like leveling up really. So I just it was hard to really get excited about continuing in that game. Where this, or where Thousand Year Door is more kind of what I guess you could call traditional Paper Mario, even though at this point there are fewer. There's Paper Mario 1 and then Thousand Year Door, and then they kind of just change it up a lot from there. So there are more games that are not like the first two than there are like the first two, if that makes, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, is it fair to call this traditional Paper Mario? But in any case, like I do want to play like a more traditional Mario RPG, but hey, I'm in luck because Mario RPG is literally coming later this year. Yeah. Will I still have an appetite for it next year? I'm not sure. I don't know.
I mean, hey, it's coming in 2024, just a nebulous 2024 window. So I would imagine this is going to be like a summer release. Like, this seems like a summer release, especially if the rumors that we're going to get the next Nintendo console hybrid, whatever it ends up being, later on in 2024. This might be like one of the Switch's kind of last hurrahs.
Maybe. Yeah. Could be. Yeah, I bet I'll be in the mood for it by the time it comes out, right? Like, it's funny that Sea of Stars kind of recently sort of scratched the itch that Mario RPG scratches, and then I will play Mario RPG when that comes out because I love that game. That's important to me. But yeah, I don't know. Will that itch be fully scratched for 1,000 Year Door? Potentially. Yeah.
You're not going to believe this, Kyle. I looked it up. Wind Waker came out a year and a half before Paper Mario: The 1,000 Year Door.
Okay, then why did I just totally... What a weird thing, because I was working at a GameStop, right? Like, I bought my GameCube with a discount, I think. Right? Yeah. So like it's not like I didn't have access to it or couldn't have even borrowed it from the store. I guess I just was really disinterested for some reason. I don't know why.
Wow.
I'll have to go back and ask myself, was it 2005, something like that?
2004.
2004. I'll have to ask my 2004 self what I was doing instead of playing Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door. I guess my band was going pretty strong at the time. I was probably playing some shows. Yeah.
So it did come to the Wii Virtual Console in 2007 and the Wii U Virtual Console in 2015, which
really the GameCube game?
It says that.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait, never mind. No. I'm an idiot. I'm looking at the Paper Mario series Wikipedia page.
Oh, okay.
So no, it has not been ported.
Because the original one was on
Virtual Console.
Apologies. Is it currently on Virtual Console? The original on Switch?
It is on Switch Online, yes. Okay, the original Nintendo 64 Paper Mario. So
sweet.
Get your get caught up on the series, I guess, if you want to check that out. But
you got to play the first one before you play the second one. The story, you got to know what's happening.
Obviously. So Paper Mario: 1,000 Year Door coming to Switch in 2024. Did not mean to rhyme that, but. F-Zero 99, your premonition came true, as you mentioned at the top of the show.
Right, yeah.
So it starts out with 99 racers, and it has courses, and they're calling them machines. I'm just going to call them cars from the SNES game.
Right.
The graphics look like kind of like upgraded version of the SNES game, which is good because the SNES version of F-Zero, much like the Star Fox SNES game, was holding on by a thread every time you ran that game.
Yeah.
So it's good
that was a Super Nintendo launch game, I think, right? So they were really figuring things out at that point, you know?
Yeah. So you can use the SNES controller if you want in this version, which is cool.
Nice.
If you have the Switch SNES controller. So it is that's much more readily accessible now. And basically just try to be the last person standing. Your rank decreases if you crash, and then you can get a temporary fuel boost or temporary speed boost using fuel. Seems like there's a lot of cosmetic options. I'm just looking at kind of the feature list here, and it's available now, Kyle. So are you going to check this out?
It is available now. I will. I do think it's going to be utter chaos. I don't think it's going to be like really like you can strategize very much. But I do want to try it. I really do. I am not an F-Zero fan, but I am an F-Zero X on N64 fan. I played that game a lot. So I don't really have any like reverence for the original Super Nintendo game, but I want to try it, if that makes sense. I liked the sort of battle royale mode that was in X, and that makes me want to try it here and see what it's like.
Well, you can play X on Switch Online as well.
Yes, yeah. No, I have. Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
That game holds up.
So what is your favorite of these, like, kind of 99? So we had, Pac-Man 99? That was short-lived, if I'm not mistaken.
I never even played it.
Mario 35 was out for, like, five days.
Yeah, I think I played one round, yeah.
Tetris 99 is still going strong, right?
I don't know, but that's my favorite.
That's my favorite as well.
Yeah.
But Mario 35 should have been my favorite, I feel like.
Yeah, Tetris, I think it was a matter of, like, Tetris I'm decent at, right? I would not go so far as to say I'm good at Tetris, but like I could at least feel like I was playing well and enjoy it, if that makes sense. Where Mario, like I'm not like I was sort of particularly good at Mario or anything, so I just felt like I didn't really feel like I had any agency over like my progress. I was like, well, I don't know, I'm just I'm here. But Tetris, I felt like I could compete, you know, like I don't know if I ever got first place. I know I made it in the top 5 or like top 10 pretty consistently, but I don't know if I ever got number 1. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
if I don't remember, then I probably didn't. Right.
The only battle royale-esque game I've ever gotten first place in was Fall Guys.
Fall Guys.
That counts as a battle royale, right? How many people started that? Like 50, 60, something like that?
Well, come on. You've played a couple rounds of Fortnite. They throw you against the bots the first couple times, make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, I never won.
So you got a victory royale on your first try.
And literally, when you say you've played a couple rounds of Fortnite, that is precisely the number of rounds of Fortnite I've played, 2. And I did not win either of them.
Oh, okay.
Kyle, let's go to the old school stuff. There's a lot of old school stuff in there. You know, Paper Mario, it's a throwback. F-Zero 99, another throwback. Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered starring Lara Croft is the full official title.
Oh, she's starring in this one? Okay,
yeah,
cool. I didn't
finally
know she was in this one.
Starring in a Tomb Raider game is Lara Croft. Yeah, you wrote up our story about this, if I'm not mistaken, and it's available for pre-order today, but it's coming out on February 14th, which they say is just in time to celebrate Lara Croft's birthday. I guess her birthday, is that just the anniversary of the first game, or is that actually like her in-universe birthday? That's a good question.
Is she born on? That's Valentine's Day, right?
Let's see, Lara Croft.
What is Lara Croft's birthday? February 14th. She was born in England. She's a Valentine's Day baby.
We're gonna go and look at what the first. Okay, so the first Tomb Raider, because they say that from like Mario's birthday. They say that all the time, right?
Right.
And they always just are referring to like his the release of the game. It's not like his actual birthday. And then like Sonic does the same thing. Sonic's birthday. That's what they say when it's June 23rd. They always say it's just Sonic's birthday.
Yeah.
And that's just because that's when the first game came out, or June 21st. I forget if it's 23rd or 21st. But the first Tomb Raider game came out October 25th, 1996. So I don't know. I guess just she was born on Valentine's Day, the character. So
I just looked it up. That's the canon.
I know, it's just a very weird thing to like assign. Okay, whatever. We'll move on. So this is just the first 3 Tomb Raider games.
Yeah.
Starring Lara Croft.
Very important.
And it says remastered and featuring each game's expansion content. I actually never played the original Tomb Raider games.
I had like a crappy PC where I had a version of it, right? And I played it a little bit of it, but I could never really make any progress. Maybe I was too young or something. But this actually, I was surprised at how excited I was by this announcement because I really love Tomb Raider 2014. Is that the year that came out? I think so. But that one 2013. Okay. That game despite was a critical and financial success, I think is underrated in a way.
Whoa. it was not a financial success. Square Enix famously said it underperformed, even though it sold like millions upon millions of copies. Yeah. Square Enix is awful at forecasting sales, by the way. I had a tweet about this a few months ago where I was just, because like they also said like Final Fantasy 16 sells like X million number of copies, underperforms. And I went back and looked, and like Sleeping Dogs, Hitman, Tomb Raider, like the reboot, like Final Fantasy 15, all of those like underperformed in sales. And it's like, well, maybe this is not like the game's problem. Maybe it's like a forecasting problem.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because even like Marvel, right? That was another one that they probably sold a bajillion copies that they're like, no, not good enough. Let's just take it offline. Shut it down.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that game had a lot more problems than their initial sales.
That's true. But the Tomb Raider 2013, I think is like underrated in the sense that I don't think it gets enough credit for how it has influenced modern sort of third-person shooter game design. Like, I think that game is amazing. Just a fantastic game. And it made me kind of retroactively kind of be like, maybe I should care more about Tomb Raider as a game, right? I've always liked the character and stuff, but I never really I never went back and played those old games, but I will absolutely at least touch this, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit down. I'm not going to pretend I'm going to sit down and play all three of the original Tomb Raider games. They're old games. They're hard to play. But I at least, like, from a historical sort of perspective, I want to at least like play the first hour of them. And in any game that lets you switch back and forth between the new and old visuals, I'm on board with, which it seems like this game does. So I'm like more excited than I thought I would be for this announcement. I didn't know that was going to happen. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does make sense. Also,
like, they presented it to me and I'm like, you know what? You're right. I do want this. Thank you.
I'm kind of surprised that now you're mentioning like games you can switch back and forth between the art style, like the original art style and the modern art style. I mean, it doesn't look like the Tomb Raider modern art style is going to be really that modern. It just looks like they cleaned up the visuals a little bit. Last week, I talked about Rugrats Adventures in Gameland, which got announced right before PAX a couple weeks ago. I'm surprised that did not get an appearance here on this this Direct, because that is like right up the alley of people who love Nintendo. It's literally an NES game. They're putting out a cartridge on NES, and it's coming to Switch, and that also has the ability, if you're playing on like one of the modern platforms, not the NES, if you're playing on like the Switch or the PlayStation or whatever, you can switch between the 8-bit style NES graphics and modern graphics that look like the 90s cartoon. So I'm surprised they didn't have any kind of reference to that whatsoever.
Yeah, I guess, man, if I had to put myself in Nintendo's shoes, I think the sort of licensed element of it like is put as a knock against it. Not that they don't have licensed games on Nintendo Directs, they do. But I think they would rather showcase, something specific to video games rather than like a licensed game. If they can help it. They did have SpyX Family on the stream, which is a licensed anime game. But I think that, like, everyone on the Game Informer staff was kind of like, whatever, shoulder shrug. But it's like, but I was raising my hand. I was like, no, you guys don't understand. Like, this is the most popular anime right now, and this is the first video game adaptation. It's that show's fantastic. I love Spy Family. That's like one of my favorite animes. But I would think that, and then coupled with the fact that it's like looking backwards too much.
Sure.
Right? NES, like we've moved on from NES. We're remaking NES games now. Contra, for example. But
let's talk about Contra.
Yeah, sure.
What is your history with the original Contra?
My Contra history starts with Contra 3 on Super Nintendo, a game that I played a lot and really loved. And have a lot of nostalgic affection for. The original Contra, not so much. I never really played the original Contra. And I guess this is not a remake of the original Contra. It's a reimagining of, like, they say, the reimagining of the NES game, which is broad enough to make it seem like I have no clue what this is then. Like, does it have nothing to do with the original games? The level layouts don't look like the original games as near as I can tell, or anything like that.
I think it's going to... So here, let me just read. It's a short blurb that they sent over for the press release. It says, Contra Operation Galuga, the legendary Contra series is back. Contra Operation Galuga is a modern reimagining of the classic run-and-gun action game from the 80s, featuring modern graphics and sound. Encounter new stages, new play mechanics, an updated weapons system, and explosive co-op combat for up to 2 players in story mode or 4 players in arcade mode. So coming early 2024 to Switch.
I mean, this is that description could apply to every Contra game that has come out in the last
really
like 10 years. Like, what was it? I was just looking it up because I couldn't remember what it was called, but like, was it Rogue?
Rogue Core?
Yeah, which was in 2019. Was just like a blip. Like it just didn't. No one reacted at all to it, and that was kind of right. That was like a throwback sort of action game. I guess it's not 2D.
No, it was like the isometric perspective, and it also kind of wasn't good.
I know, but like that's kind of the story of Contra. I feel like is like they're like, yeah, we're gonna bring it back, and then it's like you play it, and it's like, okay, like yeah, I guess this feels like Contra. I mean, Shattered Soldier was cool on PS2. I liked that game. And then there was a DS one, Contra 4, which may have been from Way Forward, who is the same developer here, was pretty cool.
That was the big headline on this one for me, was that Way Forward was working with Konami to develop Operation Galuga. So that gave me a lot more hope than previous Contra titles have had.
Okay, yeah, Contra 4 released on DS in 2007. And yes, that was Way Forward. And that is I think probably the best sort of, revisitation of Contra was that DS game Contra 4. So that's that does inspire optimism. Although the visuals, it just like I don't know, it just seemed okay. It didn't.
Yeah.
Way Forward has like great animation. They've done some fantastic looking games, and this one didn't really blow my socks off. It kind of, if you hadn't told me it was Way Forward, I don't think I would have guessed that it was a Way Forward game.
No, I would have totally thought it's just Konami's putting out anher game. So I'm glad they mentioned it's Way Forward because that gave me more hope for the gameplay and everything.
Yeah, like that. If just looking at it, I'm kind of like, okay, that looks all right. Them saying Way Forward makes me go like, okay, actually, I do want to try this and give it a shot.
They, Contra, the original Contra back on NES was one of those games that I would go over to one of my uncle's houses and play before I owned a console. So like I have a lot of affection for that game. I was like one of the games I really cut my teeth on. So I'm excited for a modern reimagining of that. I hope like there's some of the original stages. I didn't look too closely at the level design of this, but it looks like it at least has the spirit of that original Contra. So I don't know. I'm in.
So.
I'm definitely going to check this one out.
Yeah, I'm looking back over it again now and like looking at it more closely, right? Getting a chance to, because like when we watch these streams, you got to understand we're like writing stories and like, oh, I'm writing this, so I can't really pay too much attention to the Contra trailer right now. But well, actually, that is one that I wrote. I forgot, so I did watch it pretty closely. But now watching it as like sort of just rather than looking for specific details to put in the story, it looks. I'm more into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm that's one that I'm going to circle when it gets. Does it have an actual release date? It's just early 2024, right?
Early 2024. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Okay, so yeah, whenever that gets a release date, that'll definitely be circled on my calendar. But it's not one that like I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait for this to come out. But
right, yeah.
Trombone Champ, Kyle, did you ever check out the PC version of this?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I played it a good bit. I mean, a good bit. I guess I played like 5 or 6 songs, and I was like, "This is charming and funny." And that was it.
That about does it. Okay, yeah. So you probably have seen this if you're on social media at all. People sometimes will post like, oh, here's Metallica's One done in Trombone Champ, and it just sounds like garbage, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah,
I have a feeling we're not going to see any of those licensed songs in this. They said there's going to be like, everything from like modern music to like the classics, like classical music and everything. So I don't know what to expect, but they didn't show any like truly like licensed music in the trailer. But they're saying that there's going to be over 45 songs in this version. And it says you can use motion controls if you want. I don't know if it's only motion controls.
So I played on Steam Deck a bit, and then it is more fun with a mouse, right? Like on your desk. And like, by the way, like if you're not familiar with this game, like it's supposed to sound kind of absurd, and it's supposed to be a little hard to play. It's a very funny. it's like just a goofball game. It's not really meant to be like a rock band where it's like get amazing at these songs and make it feel like you're playing guitar. It's meant to be kind of silly and weird and a little hard to control. And that's why I like the control options on Switch, where you can use motion controls or the IR sensor to like move like a trombone, right? Like move it further and closer away. That actually sounds like a really fun way to play the game. So I like that they shared that. I think that's fun.
All right, let's move on to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. This is one that they didn't really show anything new. I mean, maybe one of like the boss battles or something that they showed in the trailer was new. I haven't paid as close enough attention to like really know what has and hasn't been shown. There wasn't really any new information, but how are you feeling about this game? Because I played it at PAX and I came away very impressed. And I know Alex Van Aken, our video producer, also had a chance to play it at PAX or Summer Game Fest and also was like a big fan of it.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this game. This is like one of those games that's kind of like, you don't really need to show me anything else, guys. I'll just take the final game when it's done. Thank you. You know, like I really, it looks great. If we're to believe, and I don't think it's unfair to believe that this is Switch gameplay, you know, hopefully the Switch version will be solid, because that's where I'd like to play it. I think just as like a platformer on Switch. It just like, you know, like Metroid, kind of like a Metroid Dread kind of zone of game. I like that. So yeah, I'm still excited for it. One of the things they said was like pre-order to get a Warrior Within skin or something.
Yeah, so that's something that I think they've announced prior to this. Okay. But yeah, if you pre-order, you get like the Warrior Within costume for the character.
That is so bizarre. Like, why Warrior Within? Are you a Prince of Persia fan, Shay? Like, have you played a bunch of them?
It has been so long since I played a Prince. I think the last one I played was the not Sands of Time. What was the other one? Forgotten Sands.
Okay, which is the third one? Okay, because
like the fourth one. That was like after they did that like reboot that you love.
What like to time with the movie, right?
Yeah.
Where they couldn't get. Gyllenhaal didn't offer his likeness, but they kind of got in the zone of Gyllenhaal.
Very much so.
Yeah, no, I love that series. I have played all those games, maybe a lot of them even more than once. But Warrior Within is like far and away considered the weakest of that whole set of games. Like, it's weird that that's the one that they're offering a skin for. Like, why not Sands of Time? Like,
I mean, maybe those will be unlockable in some other way, or like there'll be DLC or something. Maybe it's just like, oh yeah, let's just throw them like an old school thing that people aren't going to be like super torn up if they don't get it.
Right. I guess
that'll be some other way to get the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because also he looks pretty close to Sands of Time also already, because he's got like the blue pants and stuff. So and the scarf. So I guess if they gave a Sands of Time skin, it would kind of feel like, yeah, I already have this. But it just struck me as, I mean, I don't care about skins pre-orders. That does not affect my interest in playing the game whatsoever. I was just more like, Warrior Within. That like no one likes Warrior Within. Why are you gonna have a Godsmack soundtrack download as well? Like, what are you doing?
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Warrior Within like look was pretty neat, especially back in like 2006 or whenever that game came out. That was
like it was the eyeshadow look. Like, it was like, you know, that
angst,
era. Yeah.
I don't know. Speaking of Sands of Time, do you think we're ever gonna see that remake?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's still happening.
What's going on with that?
I don't know. I mean, it is odd that they have the Sands of Time remake that they announced, but then they have a brand new Prince game that I think arguably people are like more excited about. I mean, I love Sands of Time. I will absolutely play that remake whenever it comes to exist. But yeah, it is odd. I don't know what's going on there at this point.
What comes out first from Ubisoft? Sands of Time remake or Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Sands of Time remake. Like, 100%. Yeah.
Sands of Time remake or Skull and Bones?
Skull and Bones.
They have a lot of games that have been in development hell for a long time.
Skull and Bones has been in beta at this point now. At this, I would think Skull and Bones is like, and I bet Skull and Bones is like basically done, and they're just trying to feel out when's the best place to drop this thing where people pay not too much attention to it, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna say like, you'll see how Ubisoft truly feels about Skull and Bones when they release a release date for it, and it's like, all right, it's got the same release date as GTA 6.
Yeah,
sending this out to die. Which is very funny because another game that Ubisoft had in development for a very, very, very long time publicly was Watch Dogs. And I remember they kind of in their marketing campaign did a little jab at GTA 5, which was coming out around that same time.
Oh,
and then they delayed it again. They were like, yeah, when you're done with what was it? Was it San Andreas that or Liberty City? Right. When you're done there, come visit Chicago and Watch Dogs. And then, of course, it ended up getting delayed, so they couldn't. But Ubisoft not great at getting games out fast, which I guess it's for the best. I'd rather the good game, as Shigeru Miyamoto probably never said, but everybody attributes the quote to.
Yeah.
But let's move on to another game that was featured somewhat prominently here, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which is a very interesting naming convention because that's not what it was called on 3DS. It was called Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on 3DS. They're just ditching the Dark Moon part altogether, and it's just Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Did you play Dark Moon?
No, I didn't. My family did, and they really enjoyed it, but I never... Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I've never finished a Luigi's Mansion game. I've dabbled in all of them, but I've never actually beaten any of the three. Right?
Yeah.
3?
Yeah,
1, Dark Moon, and then 3. Yeah, I've never finished one.
Now that you say it like that, it does make sense that they would rename it because it is a little bit
What is Dark Moon? No one cares. It's call it 2. I think that's the right call. They should have called it 2 to begin with.
Yeah, they should have. Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon HD is a little bit too long. Yeah. But then again, it's not like these companies really care about what their titles are at this point, especially companies like Square Enix, where it's just word vomit and all right, go out, release. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD looks good if you never played that. I never played this version either. I dabbled in the first one, didn't play the second one, and then I've beaten Luigi's Mansion 3. Very, very good game, by the way, Luigi's Mansion 3. So I have high hopes for 2 HD.
Yeah.
And it's got 4-player online co-op if you want. There's local multiplayer. And then, a full-on Luigi's Mansion adventure with all kinds of different biomes, apparently. And
so the campaign is fully co-op?
I don't know if it says plus hunt ghosts with up to 4 players online in group exercises like that way, group exercise. Okay. And then across different multiplayer modes or conjure up fun frights in the local multiplayer Scare Scraper mode. So it doesn't look like campaign is full co-op.
All right.
But Scare Scraper, which was in Luigi's Mansion 3, was fun. So I can see it being fun in Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I wish I'd played the 3DS version, but just never got around to it. It was never like I don't know. When Luigi's Mansion came out as the launch title for GameCube, I was just like, this feels like they just needed a marquee character to have a launch title since Mario wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really ever give it its proper due, even though I recognize now that it's a very good game.
Yeah, I feel like when the GameCube launched, like it wasn't a game I ever heard anyone being over the moon for, like I didn't have a GameCube at launch. I had a friend who had a GameCube at launch, and we just played Tony Hawk on GameCube. That was kind of like the game that we played. And Luigi's Mansion, the feedback that I always heard was like, yeah, it's interesting. It's not bad. Which was like not enough for me to get excited about it, really.
I remember buying an original Xbox, just because obviously I wanted it for like Halo and Halo 2 and everything. I was very late to the Xbox party. I actually played Halo, the original one, on my PC, my dumb little laptop that my parents got for me because I was like getting ready to go to college. So I got Halo 1 on that, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait for Halo 2 to come to PC. And I kept seeing rumors for it. I remember I downloaded
years, right? Yeah.
I downloaded something that was like purported to be like a soundtrack for Halo 2 on PC, and it destroyed my laptop. I had to go to like a computer store to get the viruses removed because I downloaded it off LimeWire.
Old LimeWire.
So I was very hyped for Halo 2, and I finally gave in, and I bought a used Xbox and a used collector's edition of Halo 2. And while I was there, I was so excited because they had Tony Hawk 2X. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
where it was 1 and 2 in the same game, and I was like, "This is incredible! Like that's exactly what I want." And of course, we eventually got something similar to that with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 HD.
Yeah,
which came out a few years ago, but still very sour that we never got the 3-4 because the studio got absorbed into the Call of Duty machine, as so many Activision companies end up getting
Oh,
absorbed.
you mean like a remake, like sort of a right?
Yeah. So they actually
3
said
and 4 were like my big Tony Hawk games. You know what I mean?
Was that the one
like,
you played 3 on GameCube?
Yeah, I played 3, and then I had 3 on. We had like that I had 3, and then 4 was the first one that I like took and had myself and played on my own time rather than like at a friend's house. So 3 and 4 are very special to me.
I was so excited when 1 and 2 HD came out.
If only 1 and 2, those 1 and 2 remakes sold well enough to justify remaking 3 and 4, if only.
I mean, it seemed like they were already, according to Tony Hawk, he was the one who said it, was like, yeah, there were plans in place to do 3 and 4, but then the studio got dissolved and absorbed into like making Call of Duty games, so it all fell through.
Those remakes were huge. Like, they sold incredibly well.
They were so good too. It wasn't okay, they did it halfway or anything like that. That one HD remaster they put out on like Xbox Live Arcade or something several years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that one was rough.
And it's like, no, this was like what we all wanted all along. And it finally seemed like the series was getting some momentum again. And then, nope, studio gone.
I don't know.
Such a bummer. But Tony Hawk was not a part of this Nintendo Direct, but we got another code Recollection. So I have no idea about this series, but apparently we got a DS game called Trace Memory. And then there was a Wii sequel, which was never released in North America. But this Recollection has both versions of, or both the DS game and then the Wii sequel coming to North America for the first time. And it looks like a cool little like adventure style game with some fun puzzles.
It's like a mystery game. It's
striking art style.
There was like this is window on the DS where there were these like mystery games that like Hotel Dusk was kind of in that zone where they're like visual mystery novels that also took advantage of the DS's like touch screens. And there was like actually my wife was a big fan of these, and I remember I told her, like, when they announced it, I sent her a text. I was like, hey, Trace Memory coming to Switch, and her first reaction was like, oh yeah, that was the first game where I had to like blow on the microphone to solve some puzzle, and like I'm curious how they'll do that on Switch. I'm sure it'll just be a button press at this point, but those are like cult games, right? Like they're well liked by the people who played them, but they never were like huge. But it's nice that the sequel now there'll be a chance to play in America. That's cool.
So you remember? So by the way, before we move on, that is coming in January 19th is when another code Recollection is coming out. The League of Legends franchise is, the floodgates are opening at this point. We got that one from what was the one that came out last year? I don't remember what it was called, but for the longest time, League of Legends was just League of Legends. And then they're like, no, we're doing a League of Legends Stories, which are just a bunch of different games from a bunch of different genres. 2 of them were featured in this Direct. We have Bandle Tale, which is a crafting RPG. And then we have Song of Nunu, which is a single-player story-driven adventure. Okay. Yeah, it's a very, very weird name. So I don't know enough about League of Legends to talk about either of these, and I didn't really get a chance to watch these trailers because, as you mentioned, we are writing, editing, all kinds of stuff during these streams. But yeah, Bandle Tale comes out next year, and Song of Nunu comes out on November 1st. So League of Legends fans, I'm still waiting for the Seth Killian developed fighting game that was originally another game. I forget what the independent fighting game was called. Do you remember what it was called?
No, I don't remember. I mean, I know it's still sort of being kicked around. It was in beta for a little while, right? Like, people have played it. It's not like vaporware, right? Yeah. Yeah, League of Legends is like this. I need to watch the Netflix show because people really seem to be positive on that, and I love a good animated show. But I really have no interest in playing the core game. But like, all these other spin-offs and stuff, like I'm open to it. Like maybe if one of these will like hook me into the sort of the world that they've created, I'm okay with that. I'm just waiting for one to sort of stand out for me.
So the one that's going to stand out to me is going to be the Seth Killian one. So he worked on Street Fighter kind of more as like a community guy, if I'm not mistaken, but he also like is extremely good at playing it and knows exactly like what fan bases want. But he left Capcom in 2012. By the way, if you know the final boss in Street Fighter 4 is named Seth, it's after him. That's how like popular he was in the community. Left Capcom in 2012. Then in 2014, he left Sony Santa Monica, which is, I guess, where he was working at that point. I did not even know that.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
He joined Radiant Entertainment and developed a game called Rising Thunder, which was a 2015 free-to-play 2.5D robot fighting game that was developed so it had depth, but also was like approachable for a lot of different people of different skill levels. They canceled that in 2016, but then that's because Riot Games acquired Radiant Entertainment. So I actually, I think it was it E3 2015 or PAX West 2015? I met with Seth Killian and played Rising Thunder prior to its cancellation. It was very fun. It was a great fighting game. But they've been working on a Riot Games League of Legends fighting game ever since. So since 2016, when they were acquired, they've been working on it. So this has been in the making for a long time. And it seems like the floodgates are finally opening. Like this is like going to be the second and third League of Legends story games, or maybe even the third and fourth.
Yeah, there've been like 2 RPGs, the rhythm game, right? Yeah. So Airship Syndicate made a few. Yeah. They made like 2, I think, right?
So there's been several League of Legends stories. So I'm excited to see if that ever comes out of it. I don't know if I'm going to check out either of these. Eventually, like one of these is probably going to be my entry point into the League of Legends franchise. And I think that's what Riot Games is banking on. It's like, okay, this super complex, way too many characters MOBA might be a little unapproachable. So like, they have like animes that you can check out, right?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the one on Netflix, which everyone loves. I've been meaning to make time to watch it, but I have not yet.
There's just so many entry points into this series, and eventually it's like, okay, well, one of these is going to catch your eye. You're going to check it out, and then you're going to be like, oh, I should check out the other League of Legends stuff because like now I'm into this universe, and that's ultimately what Riot's probably hoping for.
Yeah, all right, I'm into it. Go for it.
Let's move on after that long diversion. We got a new Among Us map. I don't know anything about Among Us. It's coming out in October. It's called the Fungal map. Here's one that I was very excited for, and you alluded to already. Mario versus Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
So the rivalry that heated up, I was trying to figure out, is this a remake or like a quote-unquote reimagining?
I wrote the little news post on the site, and so I watched it back twice, and it seems new.
It does, but
I don't think
Mario
it's a remake. Which, yeah, I mean, Nintendo tends to do that sometimes, or they just like new Pokemon Snap, right?
Yeah.
But so I think it's a whole new game, which is great. Those are games that like I'm almost certain I would adore, but I just never played them just because a million reasons. Who knows why I didn't play them at the time. So like this is like a nice little entry point of being like, okay, I'll check out the new Mario versus Donkey Kong on Switch. That like I want to play this. This seems cool.
Yeah. So the last one we got, I forgot about Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge. I forgot about that one. 2015 was the one that I played, which was Tipping Stars, which was on Wii U and 3DS. I remember this. I think this might have been the first time Nintendo ever did cross save, because I think you could save it on the 3DS and then play it on the Wii U, or maybe it was cross buy.
Weird. Okay.
Where if you bought the Wii U version, you got the 3D, you got like a code for the 3DS version emailed to you.
Right.
It was one of those two. And
that sounds right. Yeah.
I played Tipping Stars. I remember former Game Informer editor Brian Vore reviewed it for us. I remember watching it. This is shortly after I joined Game Informer back in 2015. I remember watching it and be like, this looks really fun. So I went home and bought it. And I played it for probably like 2 hours and had a good time with it, but then I didn't really feel compelled to continue. It was also like you had to set up all the blocks and everything beforehand, and then you had like a little like Mario toy that would just run the course on its own.
Right.
This one looks like you're actually in control of Mario as you play through these levels. So I'm a lot more compelled to play this version than I was Tipping Stars, I think.
Yeah, I want you the way I like environmental puzzles, right? I want to be a character in a space trying to solve the puzzle there, and like sort of setting off a series of remote control Marios is like, it doesn't feel quite the same, so I'm with you. I'm more excited for this kind of thing for sure.
Though it was fun. I would not mind like Tipping Stars just getting ported to Switch if they could figure out a way to do the second screen stuff, because I think there was some element of like using the stylus to drag and drop blocks in order to let Mario pass through.
Right.
It's just like, I don't know. I guess this is better than that. It's like there was some cool stuff to it where it's like you had to like watch the little toy go through and be like, oh, that's where he failed. I know how I can adjust this to make it so it works better next time.
Yeah, I always struggle a bit with like failure being a core element of a puzzle game, if that makes sense. It's like the sort of fun of the game is like you try something, see if it works, and if it doesn't, then you fix it. And I just like I've never really loved that as just a core mechanic of like you have to get it wrong first before you get it right. So that's just like one of my, like we were playing with Marcus, we streamed Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts recently, and that's like a big part of that game is like, hey, here's a mission, try it. It's like you do the mission and then that's where you kind of figure out what you need to do differently, and then you have to do the mission again. It's like I don't want, can I skip to the just doing it right part?
Yeah, I mean that's what was so great about Tears of the Kingdom's approach to like building stuff and like trial and error. It's like, oh, that thing that I built didn't work. All right, I guess I'll just build a new one.
Yeah, like the failure part of Tears of the Kingdom wasn't really there, because like it's not like you left the level necessarily or it like had to restart. It's like, oh, well, you got it wrong, so try again. It was more like, oh, I got it wrong, let me just tweak this in real time so it can continue forward, you know.
The only bad thing is if you fell off the Sky Island and you're like, well, I have no way back now.
Yeah, I guess there's, you know, look, we don't need to dive into Tears of the Kingdom.
Of course we do. We always need to dive into Tears of the Kingdom.
There's ways to get back up there really quickly.
Splatoon 3.
Yeah.
How much time have you put into Splatoon 3?
I beat the single player campaign.
Okay.
And really liked it. Particularly the last, like, I guess you could say level or like couple hours of Splatoon 3 are like fantastic. And I was like, oh, I wish the whole campaign had felt more like this. Which is to say you were in one large structure sort of making your way through, as opposed to just like picking off little levels here and there. So I like the single player stuff in Splatoon 3 quite a lot. And that's what they showed here, which is like great, love single player stuff. And then the other element of it was I was like, this reminds me of Portal 2 so much. Just like the white robots with red eyes, like and also like the goo, like Portal 2, a big part of that game was, you know, the goo that you could bounce off of or slide along. So I'm sure the game doesn't play like Portal. You know, when I get my hands on it, I'm not going to be like, oh, they're just doing Portal. Splatoon is a totally different game that plays differently, but the vibes are there, you know, so which is like actually makes me quite excited for it.
Yeah, so this is called Side Order. That we already knew that, but it's coming out spring 2024, which for some reason I thought it was coming earlier than that.
That's further away than I expected, but that's cool. I'm fine with that. It's not like I got plenty to play right now.
Yes, it's absurd actually. Like we'll talk about it later about like the stuff I have not gotten to that I wanted to talk about on this show, but I just haven't gotten to it because there's too much stuff to play right now, and we are not even in the meat of it.
Yeah.
But I'm very in for Splatoon 3's Side Order expansion. And like, you know, there's like character progression. You can strengthen your character's abilities as you go up to different floors. And more single player stuff for Splatoon is always welcome, because as I've said several times on this podcast, the single player content in Splatoon is criminally underrated and underappreciated. So good.
Yeah, it's quite good. Yeah. The end of Splatoon 3 is, just look it up on YouTube if you haven't seen it. Like the final boss encounter of Splatoon 3 is nuts. It's fantastic.
All the bosses in the Splatoon series are amazing. And like it feels like almost like, okay, if Mario had different, like 3D Mario games had different mechanics, this would be the game. That's what it feels like to me, where it's like the design is clever in that same way.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm quite there with you on that, but it is very good. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of Mario games with different mechanics, Super Mario RPG, Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to let you carry me on this one, because I've never played beyond like the opening of the original Mario RPG, which, by the way, the opening of that game, all-time great. Playing like a Bowser battle and everything. Right. And it's like, we're starting with a Bowser fight?
I replayed the beginning recently for because I've captured some footage for some videos and stuff for like our Sea of Stars coverage, because Sabotage specifically references Mario RPG as a point of inspiration. But I love Mario RPG. I feel like I've talked about it on All Things Nintendo before, where it's like that was actually the first turn-based RPG where I understood like why it was fun. Maybe that's a weird thing to say, but like, you know, at a time when I was young and I would just like video games like would just had to be fun in 5 seconds. Like I remember I went to a friend's house and popped in Final Fantasy 6 or something, and I was like, I'm just like, I can't make any progress because I walk 5 steps and I get attacked.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of like reading. I was a kid who read a lot, but I would not when I was never in reading mode when I played video games. You know, I was like, I want to be able to jump and fight and attack and stuff. And then I was like, and then the fighting was like, I'm just selecting menus. Like what this is, people like this was kind of like my reaction, you know. And I totally like wrote them off. And like I remember even reading about praise for Chrono Trigger in like Nintendo Power magazine and being like, come on, they're people don't understand that this is a turn-based game when they're trying to trick us. Like if you actually go play Chrono Trigger, you're going to realize it's stupid. But of course I got over that and don't feel that way anymore. But like it was Mario RPG that kind of taught me what works about an RPG that makes it fun. And like it's the progression, it's like the characters, it's like the sort of slow pace of combat and like figuring out what are the best attacks rather than being like how quickly can I attack it, like right. It just taught me all these things about the game, and I loved the look, I loved the world, I loved the timed button pressing and the combat like that is so huge for me. That's like I really love that whenever that's implemented well. Like Sea of Stars recently, a game that I really love, had that in the game, and I think it helps with the combat significantly.
It's so much more than just like kind of, all right, I'm going through the same menu over and over again to select the attack.
Like you're actually paying attention and you're watching and you're, you know, and like you could totally make it through those games without taking advantage of those bonuses, but it's like it just makes it more fun and it makes it more interactive. So with all that being said, like those are all the reasons that I'm excited to see this game remade. I haven't played it in full in years. I think the last time I played it was like maybe like 2001 or something like that. And I'm ready to revisit it. Like it looks great. The more they show of it, the more excited I get for it. It's another one of those games. It's like I don't really need to know more about it. It's a game that already exists. I just want to get my hands on it, which is not too far off actually, right? It's just like a month or two or something like that, if even that.
November 17th.
Yeah, pretty close.
2 months away.
So yeah, I'm excited for Mario RPG for sure.
This will be my first time playing it, like I said, beyond that kind of opening area, because I was kind of with you. I saw like my friend playing it and I was at his house and I was like, what is this? It's like I've never seen graphics like this before because like, you know, on the Super Nintendo, those kind of like 3D models were very, very, very rare.
Yeah. And it was kind of the first time you saw Mario in 3D in a way, sort of,
yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Obviously Mario 64 blew it out of the water, but
yeah.
In terms of graphics anyway. But yeah, I'm excited to see this return, and you know, I think that it's going to be a game that I definitely devote some time to when it comes out. A couple of third-party kind of indie releases that I wanted to touch on very briefly. Dave the Diver, which blew up on PC over the summer, came out June 28th on PC and got a lot of buzz, so much so that our editor-in-chief, Matt Miller, went and checked it out and wrote a review because he's like, oh, everybody's talking about how great this game is. Let me check it out. And he loved it. He gave it an 8.75 out of 10. So it's coming to Switch. It's not on any consoles yet, but it is coming to Switch first. So it's coming, as far as consoles concerned, Switch is going to be the first one, it says. October 26th is when that comes out. Basically,
that's pretty quick.
Yeah. So before Mario RPG. So you explore deep sea, and you I guess you're catching fish, and then you use those fish in a sushi bar that you manage. So like there's like this gameplay loop of diving into the sea and getting fish, and then managing your restaurant during that. But then there's also like all these mysteries you have to uncover, mini games, side quests, all while you're maintaining this sushi business. So by all accounts, it's an incredible game. So I'm excited to check that out. I have it on my computer. But like I said, I don't want to sit at my computer any longer than I have to when the workday is over.
Yeah, same.
So that's kind of
this is where I'll check it out, is on Switch.
Oh, and it looks like such a perfect Switch game. Like the art style and everything, kind of like the pixelated like visuals and everything. It looks right up my alley on Switch. Wargroove 2 is I wonder how much luster has been lost from the Wargroove series. I know it was very well liked the first one, but it's like very much like the pitch of that first one was like, what if they made a new Advance Wars game and it was modernized? Yeah. And now they have done that as of this year. We have the first 2 Wargroove games on Switch. So I'm wondering how much luster has been lost here. I think this one's exclusive to Switch. And
Wargroove 2.
Yeah, Wargroove 2. And it's coming on October 5th. But like there's a lot of new stuff, like in terms of like there's like 3 different campaigns, a new roguelike game mode, and a new cast. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to here, but I just wonder if people are going to be like, yeah, I already got my fill this year of like kind of like the turn-based tactical gameplay with like this art style and everything. I don't know. I'm hopeful that it does well, and I'm hopeful it's very good. I mean, I have no reason to believe it's not going to be good, but yeah, we'll see how it does when it comes out on October 5th.
Yeah, not a series I have any particular affection for or anything. It seems good, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see if I play it.
Have you ever played Horizon Chase 2?
No. Was that a mobile game, or now it's coming to Switch?
At one point, I think it might have been, but it has been on PlayStation for a long time.
Okay.
And it's a very solid arcade style, like throwback to like the 90s racing games. Like, I know we recently got a new cruising game. It was one of the first eShop gems that I ever brought up. I think you were on the episode because it was your first time on All Things Nintendo, I believe. And this almost goes back to like...
That was when I was on that? Because I, just a heads up, I was like working at the publisher Game Mill at the time, which published the physical version of the game. So I was like,
I think you had just left at that point, or maybe
okay,
maybe, I don't know. Either way,
but anyway, just disclaimer: I was involved in the publishing of Cruisin'. Was it called
Cruisin' Blast?
Cruisin' Blast. Okay, it's been a while. Sorry.
Well, we're not talking about Cruisin' Blast, so it's all right.
Right.
We're talking about Horizon Chase 2. But it looks like it kind of has that same style where like it is kind of like that same style. I've played a little bit of it on PlayStation, where it throws back to like those old cruising games from the 90s. And I loved those games. So I'm all about this. I have it on PlayStation, but I will probably pick this up on Switch, and it's out now. So if you want to check that out, go do it.
Cool.
Few more big games, and then we're going to kind of probably cruise through the next several, but let's talk about WarioWare Move It. How are you feeling about this one?
Great. It's another one that I don't even need to know more about other than the release date and when I can play it.
Well, November 3rd, Kyle. November 3rd is the release date.
Great. That's all I need. I won't even probably, if they show any more trailers at this point. It's like WarioWare is such a series about being surprised by what is happening on screen all of a sudden that I don't need to see anything else about that game until I'm playing it.
It's saying more than 200 micro games, and then their quote, not mine, multiplayer modes aplenty.
So plenty, you say?
I am very excited for that. It seems like it is a follow-up to WarioWare Smooth Moves, which I maintain is the best WarioWare game, which I know it's controversial for some people. A lot of people will assert that the Game Boy Advance version is the best one. I think it's the Wii version, which is Smooth Moves.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but I do love Smooth Moves for sure. I spent a lot of time on with Smooth Moves multiplayer. Yeah.
Maybe it was just at like the perfect time for me. Maybe I'm just like looking at through rose-colored glasses because it was right when I started drinking, and I would have friends over. We would just like have a couple drinks and play WarioWare Smooth Moves, and we broke multiple Wii remotes doing so. But it was it was a very good time. And WarioWare Move It looks like it's right up that alley. So that is that one. Detective Pikachu Returns. I got a chance to play that game. You can go hear my impressions on a past episode, but continues to look good. Looks like they have some, they showcase Luxray's special ability, which is the ability to look through walls. Already talked about how Growlithe can like follow scents, and Darmanitan, I can never pronounce, Darmanitan? Yeah, Darmanitan. I think that's
There's
how
no way of knowing.
Smash rocks. So yeah, that's looking good. October 6th, right around the corner, is Detective Pikachu Returns.
Oh, yeah. That's real close.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we got the Booster Course Pass Wave 6, the final wave of DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. How are you feeling about the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC that we've gotten so far?
I mean, it's great. I haven't played a lot of it. Every couple of months, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, Mario Kart," and then me and my kid will play through the new tracks and stuff. But it's not like a destination for me, right? It's not like, "Oh, these are out today. I got to go play these." Like, it's not quite that. But like, yeah, I mean, Mario Kart 8 is such a huge, has such a huge install base for Nintendo. Like, this is cool. Like, I like that they took this approach to just like adding so much to it. Like, if you had asked me, like, would you rather have that or 9, I probably still would have said 9, but like, I'm very happy with this for sure.
I mean, they literally are doubling the number of courses and then also adding a bunch of new characters, especially in this wave.
Yeah.
So now we are getting Funky Kong, Diddy Kong, Pauline, and Peachette. That's 4 new characters in this wave.
Yeah.
And then also we're getting 6 new courses, right? Or 8 new courses is usually the way it goes.
Yeah, was it they had a name for it.
Well, Daisy Circuit, but that's a level from Mario Kart Wii.
Right, okay.
So we're going to get more levels presumably announced in the lead up to that, and it's saying it's coming out this holiday season. So if you have the expansion pack for Switch Online, it's no additional cost, or you can buy the booster course pass. I think it's like $25. So it's not really that bad when you consider how many courses what is it, 96 new tracks or something like that?
That sounds right.
Or maybe 96 is the number of tracks that are in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in total. I don't know. There's math to be done.
There's math to be done.
Let's see. You talked about the Spy Family game or SpyXAnya. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Anya's. Okay. Do you know about that show?
I don't know anything about any of the words I just said.
Okay, here's the premise of the show because it's quite good. It's all right. So there's a secret agent and then an assassin, and through a series of events, they have to pretend to be husband and wife, right?
Okay, so but Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
right? But yes, kind of. But they don't know that the other is a spy and the other is an assassin, right? Okay, so that's the Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right? But thrown into all that mix, in order to keep up the appearances as a true couple, they adopt a child, and the child happens to be telepathic, so she knows what their whole deal is, but they don't know each other, and it's actually quite hilarious. And then it's like there's these great assassin scenes and spy sequences. It's like it's a really bizarre premise that just comes together in a great way that's very funny, and I quite like that show a lot. It's very good.
So Kyle, where can I watch this show? Because it sounds very fun.
I think it's on Hulu and then Crunchyroll and Funimation. But yeah, I think Hulu. But it's going to take over the world. Like, you'll probably be Netflix will do a live action adaptation of Spy Family in the coming years, I'm sure, that kind of thing.
So it's just a combination of Mr. and Mrs. Smith and The Incredibles.
What? No,
just having like the superpowered baby is all.
I guess so. Yeah, but she's like it's really what it comes down to. It's not that she's like a superhero, the kid Anya. It's just that she knows the full picture, but no one else really does. And it leads to a lot of comedy where she's like, I gotta help my dad who's a spy and help my mom who's an assassin, but they can't know that I know that they know. It's good. It's very good.
It sounds very good. Honestly, it takes a very, very, very solid premise with also good reviews from people who watch it to get me to really want to go watch an anime, because a lot of them just have so many episodes and have so many moving parts and everything. It's hard to get into.
Yeah, see, this one's new. I think it's only got two seasons or so.
Which is what, 750 episodes?
No, come on.
Some of those seasons in anime are ridiculous.
No, they are. I agree.
Super
As
crazy.
Someone who has watched a lot of One Piece, I know what you're talking about.
Super Crazy Rhythm Castle. I did not pick up that it's just music from Konami games, which I did not realize. So it's a rhythm adventure coming to Switch. Time your button presses with the music to solve puzzles and battle bosses. Rock out to over 30 thrilling tracks from Bloody Tears and Vampire Killer from Castlevania.
Hell yeah.
And then, coming out November 14th. That sounds fun. Looked fun.
Is fun.
Let's see.
I don't know. I haven't played it.
A few more things here. Yeah, we're wrapping up here. Unicorn Overlord. Did you see this?
What is it? I think I completely missed this one.
It's from the
I'm looking up
creators
the trailer.
of 13 Sentinels, which very well liked game.
Oh, really?
Vanillaware.
Oh, that's huge. I totally missed this. That's like makes me so much more interested.
New RPG from them. Traverse vibrant world, cultivate a grand army with over 60 distinct characters, and grow your renown throughout the 5 nations in this epic fantasy adventure.
Oh,
I want to say they
okay.
mentioned that it was tactical as well, but I'm not entirely sure.
I'm embarrassed. If I had known this was Vanillaware, I would have dropped everything to like pay attention.
The best name of any game on the Direct, though. Unicorn Overlord.
Yeah. Oh, I'm watching this now, and I'm like, oh yeah, obviously this is Vanillaware. You just look at a little cutscene, and it's like, yeah, no, their visual style is fantastic. I wonder if it will be as story centric as 13 Sentinels. 13 Sentinels was basically a visual novel, like a borderline visual novel. And it was.
Should I check it out? Should I check out 13 Sentinels? I've heard nothing but glowing. So I think it might have been Kim Wallace when I think it was her final episode before she left Game Informer. She was the one who recommended it to me as an eShop gem. And I was like, okay, I'll check that out. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, it's $60. I don't really want to drop $60 on a game that I might not be able to get to right now.
No, I mostly watched my wife play. And was really even passively, I was like, "Whoa, what's happening? Oh, that's really interesting." Like it's got a really interesting story and premise that I won't spoil or anything, but it's very cool.
Okay, well,
and Atlas is publishing it. Oh my gosh, did they publish 13 Sentinels?
I think so.
Wow, this is huge. Why didn't you tell me about this sooner, Brian?
Wanted to get your raw reaction. No, I just assumed you saw it because
yeah, well, of course.
I never know who was doing stuff when in those streams.
Right. I guess okay. So 13 Sentinels was published in Japan by Atlas, but published worldwide by Sega, which is like.
I mean, Sega owns Atlas at this point, so
it's all the same. So, very cool.
Okay, so I'm just going to give a few shout-outs here. War Tales, which is a turn-based tactical game. So many of those on Switch. Up to 4 players can share command and overcome foes as a team online. That is on Switch now. Saga Emerald Beyond, a multi-layered RPG full of rich stories, awaits. That is coming to Switch next year. 17 interconnected worlds that you can journey through. Eastward Octopia, which is an expansion for the popular game Eastward. That's coming to Switch this holiday season. Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. I feel like we've been waiting for that game for years now. More than 100 characters you can choose from in that RPG. It's what's the game that it is like a direct inspiration from? I'm drawing a blank.
Suikoden, right?
Suikoden, yeah.
Right.
So that's coming to Switch on April 23rd, and then Battle Crush, which is like kind of like a top-down brawler battle royale. I couldn't think of the genre. Yeah, top-down brawler battle royale that was originally announced for PC and mobile games, now coming to Switch, and then there's a closed beta coming in October. There is one more thing that we can talk about here before we move on from the Direct. New Amiibo figures, Kyle. I know you've got a few Amiibos over there at your house.
Yeah, I like the Zelda ones. I have all the Zelda ones, and then I will just like, if one just stands out to me that I like, if it's a character I like or something, I'll grab it. Which is to say, I'll grab Sora. I think Sora is super fun. I'll get a Sora amiibo.
And I'm assuming you're also going to get the Tears of the Kingdom Zelda and Ganondorf as well, which got release dates November 3rd.
Cool.
Those are absolutely. I'm going to pre-order those as soon as I can because sometimes they're hard to find.
Yeah, actually, in fact, Brian, if you could give me a shout when you see that happening, let me know. I'll do it as well.
You helped me get one of the amiibos, right? One of the Zelda amiibos. Was it
I think so.
Majora's Mask one, maybe? We usually are like...
We watch each other's back when it comes to Zelda amiibos.
We do.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that brotherhood and camaraderie that we have for Zelda amiibos. Noah and Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3, they're going to be coming January 19th. And then the final DLC character for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You already said his name, Sora from Kingdom Hearts, coming sometime in 2024, which will be the final Smash Bros. Ultimate amiibo figure to release, which means everyone is here finally in amiibo form. That's what they even said on the Direct. So I can't even take credit for that one. But That's exciting that all of the Smash Brothers Ultimate characters are now available. Have you picked up any of like the recent Smash Ultimate figures?
What? Let's see. I got Sephiroth and Cloud and Banjo Kazooie, but I don't. I guess not. I guess the most recent would have been Banjo Kazooie that I picked up.
I'm
I'd have to,
looking
like,
at
look
mine right now.
Right? Yeah. I was wondering what you're doing.
I got Joker from Persona 5.
Oh, I do have Joker. Yes, I do have Joker.
Not
as
from
well.
Batman.
Yeah.
I got Kazuya from Tekken.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I got Simon from Castlevania, but he was just a Smash Ultimate launch character.
Yeah. But yeah, I want Sora. And the Zelda ones for sure.
I don't know if I got Sephiroth. Did I? I don't remember.
Got one wing.
I'm gonna be very upset if I don't have Sephiroth, because that was a cool one that I wanted, and I just missed it when he became available, and now it's gonna be $83 to buy him on Amazon if I want to do it. Or maybe he's readily available. Who knows?
Yeah, there's no way of knowing when it comes to amiibos.
Yeah, that's why I bought the Bokoblin amiibo for $35 when Tears of the Kingdom came out. And then, like, literally a week later, they're like, we're restocking the Bokoblin amiibo. It'll be available for like $16.
I know. I remember you texted me about that. Then I think it was like within weeks, right? It was like 2 weeks later.
Oh yeah, it was like literally like a week or two later, and it was. And of course, I was at a store the other day, and they literally had like probably 15 of them on the shelf. And I'm like,
well, here's the good news is if you go buy Sephiroth now on eBay, that means they'll restock that for everybody else. So if you want to do that for us.
That's how it works. Kyle, what did you give? What would you give a letter grade for this Nintendo Direct?
Ooh, letter grade. Like a B minus, C plus.
That's where I was at.
Passing grade, right? Like, not. I went in with low expectations, and they were slightly exceeded.
Yeah, I'm about there as well. Like,
it was fine. Yeah,
Princess Peach Showtime looks great. Mario Kart Booster Pack, Booster Course Pass Wave 6 looks fun. Has a lot of great characters getting added.
I'm excited for the Tomb Raiders, weirdly. Like, I want to play those. That's a funky one, but yeah.
Mario vs. Donkey Kong. That's a highlight for me.
Thousand Year Door. 3. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
There's a lot of solid stuff, right? Nothing like really super exciting, but just
we didn't get a Super Mario Brothers Wonder like we did the last full Nintendo Direct, where it was like, okay, this is like the big game that's on the horizon now.
And no Zelda stuff, which they've now, I believe, confirmed, right? They said that they're not doing DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, which is just sort of flabbergasting. I was like, really? Okay. I wonder if the DLC for Breath of the Wild just wasn't worth the investment that they put into it. Like, maybe just not a lot of people bought it. I don't know, but I was surprised by that news.
I don't know if you saw or you listened to last week's episode or saw my tweet about this, but I made my pitch for the final entry in this trilogy of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and whatever the next game would be. And that is, when the Master Sword shattered at the start of Tears of the Kingdom, it released the spirit of demise, because remember at the end of Skyward Sword, his spirit or his soul or whatever was sealed within the Master Sword, and then that's the final thing. And it because the Triforce has been so like in the background of this current series of Zelda games, that is like demise is back, and like it's now literally like a battle for the Triforce to like destruction of Hyrule or the saving of Hyrule, and like that's what the story is. And it'd be cool because we've already beaten Ganon, we've beaten Ganondorf. Now to have like the final kind of climactic showdown with the guy who kind of started it all would be a fun little like way to wrap up this trilogy of games.
Yeah, it's always that thing of like, I don't think they really think about Zelda in terms of like trilogy, right? In terms of like continuous story. Like there is a continuous story, but I think Nintendo just likes to sort of make them standalone, and then we'll get the odd sequel like Tears of the Kingdom or Majora's Mask with asterisks. But like, yeah, I think whatever's next for Zelda is going to be another big step, right? Like I think we're not going back to that Hyrule, right? And not to turn this into a sort of prediction for the next Zelda, but like I think it's gonna be a whole new world, probably a different art style. Like I think they're trying. I think they're ready to sort of shake it out and mix it up and try something big again. But still using the current sort of core open nature of Breath in the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. But we'll see.
If you're living in Hyrule, at what point do you just say I'm moving? I'm sick of this guy continually destroying our kingdom.
I mean, honestly, it's not safer anywhere else. At least there, you got the Hero of Time showing up every couple of decades to sort of set things straight, you know? But, like, if you just moved off to Koholint Island or whatever, like, who knows if a hero will show up and save the day, you know?
Yeah, I mean, move to Termina, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And that's its own. I mean,
that seems almost worse somehow.
I know, the fact that Link happened to show up, you know, to stop the end of the world was just a coincidence, you know. So I think I stay in Hyrule. I try to be as close to Link and Zelda as I can be.
But all right, Kyle, let's put a bow on the Nintendo Direct. Before we wrap up, I did want to talk a little bit about my impressions of Mortal Kombat 1. That game, I have not played the Switch version, so I can't really vouch for how it plays. It's the same studio that did the Mortal Kombat 11 port back when that came out on Switch. But Mortal Kombat 1 is a very, very technologically advanced game. I played the PlayStation 5 version. Super good. Love it. Absolutely one of the best games I've played in 2023. The story mode is unbelievable. I just finished it last night, and you know, it's just a fantastic story. It has plenty of nods to, even though like it's technically a reboot, like, you know, it follows the events of 11, where like
reboot of a reboot.
Liu Kang kind of reboots the universe. Yeah, he just like rewrites the timeline in his image. But there's so many like nods to like Mortal Kombat past and everything, and lots of Easter eggs, lots of acknowledgments of things that have happened. So if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, it's a great time. A lot of these characters you've known and loved over all the decades of these games that have been coming out. And if you're new to it, then this is a good starting point as well, because they, like anything that is referenced, they do kind of catch you up on it. There's also a single player mode called Invasions, where it's like just a ton of like battles. You're going through like a node based hub world, almost like Mario 3. And you're going through and all these different challenges and everything. And it's like, all right,
is it more like Smash Brothers Ultimate's sort of single player mode? Is that the closer point of reference?
Maybe, because there are like modifiers you can equip to it and everything. So yeah, maybe that's a better comparison. But it's going to be seasonal, and I think it's every 6 weeks it's going to turn over. And I think when I asked them at NetherRealm how many hours will it take to complete, they're like, we're aiming for like 8 hours per season. So it's a lot of stuff that's getting jammed in there, and they're giving a lot of rewards just for playing it. So you get a lot of in-game currency, get a lot of cosmetics. I got new cameo fighters, which are like, that's the big new mechanic where you just press like the left shoulder button and they'll jump in and perform an attack or like buff you or whatever like that in the middle of the match. And that operates
so smart
cooldown.
Because there's so many characters in any fighting game, particularly Mortal Kombat, where it's like we want to see them, but like we don't need to like play as them.
Yeah, and that a lot of those characters fall into that category, and it's perfect that they are just putting them as cameos. And some of them are both. Like, you know, I have Scorpion on the main roster, and I have Scorpion as a cameo fighter, so it makes sense in that regard. But it's like an old school Scorpion. It looks like the Scorpion from Mortal Kombat 1 is the cameo fighter. And then like the modern version of Scorpion is the playable character. So I'm having a great time with Invasions. I'm still playing through this first season of content. There's a lot of it. I'm just tackling all this. There's also Towers, which are just kind of like the traditional arcade style mode, where it's like you choose which tower you want to go on, and then like you fight sequential battles all the way up to the top. And then there's character endings at the end of it to kind of like the old school arcade modes, where it tells you like what happens when they win. And that's fun. And then, there's customization. Like I've as you play through story, as you play through Invasions, you unlock all these like cosmetics and everything. And it's so fun to go in and be like, oh, I want to give my Scorpion a different mask, and I want to customize. And you can choose, like, there's going to be different skins that you can unlock and everything as well. So like I equipped the Jean-Claude Van Damme skin to Johnny Cage. So anytime Johnny Cage pops up outside of story mode, because in story mode, I guess Johnny Cage is one of the main characters, so I'm assuming they did not get Jean-Claude Van Damme like for long enough to voice all of the lines in the story mode. But like,
I don't know, what's he up to? You know, maybe
it's very fun to see Jean-Claude Van Damme, the original vision for Mortal Kombat, finally in a Mortal Kombat game.
That is cool.
And he's in an outfit that looks very reminiscent of Bloodsport, which was like one of the original inspirations for Mortal Kombat. So that's a very fun, like full circle moment.
Because we've been playing Mortal Kombat 9 on replay. Please tune in on Fridays, Marcus and I, and we went down the rabbit hole of like, it was more than just an inspiration. Like they were trying to make a licensed Bloodsport game,
yeah.
And then the license fell through, so they pivoted into something that was way more successful ultimately.
Though Bloodsport's one of my favorite all-time movies, so I'm very excited to have that referenced in here.
Right.
But yeah, the customization options are fun. I'm excited to see how much they open up on that, because there are so many different skins they could add, so many different palettes, so many different customization pieces that they could add if they really wanted to go like all in on this. So I'm looking forward to seeing that expand as the years go on of supporting this game, and they could really support this game a lot, and they seem like they are with the Invasions mode. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 1, incredible fighting mechanics as well, as gory as ever. So if you're worried that like they're pulling their punches there, they are not. Some of these fatalities are like I don't want to say cringe inducing, because that has like a negative connotation, but like I've winced a couple of times, like, ooh, that was pretty brutal looking. Like there's one, I don't want to go in too much depth without like, but yeah, there's one where basically, you've seen like sword swallowers at like events. now take that and
make them all the time.
Make it more brutal.
Can't walk 10 feet out of my house without seeing one of those.
Just sword swallowers everywhere in the streets these days. But yeah, it's just as brutal and gory as ever. So Mortal Kombat 1, I again haven't played the Switch version, but if it's anything like the PlayStation 5 version that I am reviewing, it is fantastic, and you should go check it out.
Cool.
The one that I have not gotten to yet, but I want to shout out that it's available now. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the Teal Mask expansion is out right now, and I'm excited to dive into that. I'm going to do it this weekend, just kind of get a feel for it. And just wanted to shout out that is available now. It's the first of 2 parts coming to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as expansions. So go check those out if you would like to. Make sure you buy the right version, because as I found out, luckily I did not fall prey to this, but there are distinct versions. So if you have Scarlet and you accidentally buy the Violet version of the expansion pass, you're out of luck. So be very careful about which one you buy. But yeah, that is available now. And yeah, Kyle, I think that's an episode of All Things Nintendo. Thank you for joining me for this show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a big week for Nintendo, kind of unexpectedly. It's like these directs just happen all of a sudden.
It was. And as a show note for next week, I am currently planning on running an interview that I actually did a few weeks ago. So that version will not be a video version if you are watching this. Also, if there's any news that hits, as long as it's not like blockbuster news that we have to absolutely cover on a timely episode of All Things Nintendo, we'll be pushing the news to the following episode. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, throw All Things Nintendo a 5-star review and hit that subscribe button. If you want to get any questions or comments in, you can get in touch with me at allthingsnintendo@gameinformer.com, or hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, or Threads at Brian P. Shea. And then you can also join the Game Informer Community Discord, which is a perk for subscribing to our Twitch channel, even just for 1 month. While you subscribe, go check out the Mortal Kombat 9 Super Replay that Kyle and Marcus Stewart are doing. But outside of that, Kyle, where can people find you online?
The internet. Just Google my name. You'll track me down. I predominantly use Blue Sky lately. I'm trying to kind of switch over there. That's where I post the most stuff lately. So
yeah. I haven't figured out which one I'm landing on. I'm back on Twitter, and I've been using that the most, but that's only because there's the most people there. But yeah. I would love to do Threads or Blue Sky at some point.
Yeah, just waiting for one to sort of be the sort of, cemented, like, this is the one we're all using. Great, yeah. I'm there.
Don't want to get too involved or too invested.
Yes, exactly.
Kyle, that is our show for this week. Thank you all again so much for listening. Take care. We will see you next time.